Every time the door goes, you're like, is this it? And you're thinking, are they talking to the police? Are they trying to find out what's going on? Would you like to go in the back room and count it, sir? I was like, no, I want to go. And that's how I stole £500,000 from a bank. My name's Tony Sales. I'm 49 years old. I'm the co-founder of We Fight Fraud, and I was previously dubbed Britain's greatest fraudster. How do you get the title of Britain's greatest fraudster? So for me, it started when I was 7 years old. My uncle lowered me into a pub. I just had to open the door, let them in. They robbed the pub. I got some, a bottle of pop and a packet of fags out of it. I needed money. My mum and dad had both left by the time I was 2 days old. My nan looked after me. I was with my nan and my granddad. So although I had a stable upbringing, I was always craving, why did my mum leave? Why did my dad leave? And that just created something within me that, I wanted to always be someone else. The boundaries, were very broad. I was always out as a kid. I was never really in. I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like, the way I dressed. And so that drove the criminal behaviour that I would, from credit cards to stealing car radios to stealing out of shops. We was just kids, that were all kind of from the same sort of backgrounds that were just trying to feed our hungry bellies and perhaps give ourselves a ledge up on life that we didn't have. In the beginning, because I believe that money would lead to, a better life, a way out of the stuff I was in. In the early years, I guess I probably wanted to see if I could get enough money to bring my mum and dad back together like all kids want to do. And so it helps to kind of, I was able to buy designer jackets, designer trainers, designer whatever, spend the criminal money on those type of things to make myself feel better about the way I was feeling. So it was about money, but it was also about the way I was feeling is what created that. And each little job that I would then do would then lead me to another job and to another job and to another job, and you get like a learning. You're not scared, you've learned, how long it takes for the police to come when someone rings them, like how to keep watch to make sure that police are not coming, or is there anyone acting that might call the police on you. These are all things that as a criminal you learn throughout your life, yeah? It's just like a total circle of crime and just building your way up. So it's a very strange type of addiction. We've just been hitting different types of things in the seaside town and that. We kind of always just drive around the town and have a little look around. I drove around this town, and at the end of this pier bit right here was like this round yacht sales showroom. And I thought, I'm going to go and see if I can get a yacht. Interest-free credit. Like, what is it? Can we see? Went in, just I'd kind of had a nice watch. I'm really dressed well. I pulled up in a really flash car. I don't say anything, I just walk in there, just walk around, go, oh, some nice shops in here, and then I leave, yeah? And then I come back, because I want them to see that I'm thinking about it, and who am I, and I want them to look at me from the outside, and can they see, cause I'm creating, what I'm actually doing is socially engineering them to believe I've got enough money to buy a yacht. And then I go in, sit down, talk to the guy for a little bit, tells me, oh yeah, it's quite easy, you can buy a yacht and finance, no worries, we can do that. So I ask him, what do I need? He says, you need a driving license, you need a utility bill, you need a debit or credit card that we can take the bank information from. And he said, insurance certificate to say that the vehicle's insured, and you can leave from this dock, we'll let you drive off in the boat. So I was like, wow. I'll go and get all the stuff that I need, come back like a week later, I think it was, or 2 weeks later. I drive into the place, do the exact same thing. I'm here to buy the yacht now, blah, 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 give him all the paperwork. He gives me the paperwork. Yeah, sure, it's fine, we'll sign it all. And I'd supply the fake, so I had these They weren't fake, yeah, they were real. So they were insurance cover notes, okay? But this company that I'd wrote this cover note out on for the boat didn't actually do boat insurance, and the guy knew it, yeah? So that's what must have triggered him, yeah? So as I was sitting in, waiting, he said, "Do you want a glass of champagne, sir?" So I was like, "Yeah." You know, like I'm sitting there and thinking, we're going to have a nice little whatever. And as I'm sitting there, I just saw this police car coming down, like kind of thinking, wow. And then my bum squeaking a little bit because I'm like, I think these are coming here. I just got up and said, I'm going to go and I've just got to quickly go down the road. My missus has just rung me. I need to just shoot off quickly. So he goes, "Oh, no worries, like that." So I just literally went out. And as I pulled out in the car, I pulled out like this. The police came in here and I literally just shot off like that. So I don't know if they were for me. I never went back to get the yacht, but I would assume that they were for me. Well, I do know that they were actually for me because I rung him a week later and asked him if I could come and pick the yacht up. And he said only if I could go leave with a police escort. Yeah, and very scary. I didn't have a clue how to drive a boat. Probably been lost at sea on some island somewhere and never known, but just the excitement of the little kid of going, "I want to get in this yacht, yes!" That was just like... Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest jobs I've done was, you know, I took £500,000 out of a bank very early on in my full career as an adult. So woke up, we used to have a saying, you can never go war on an empty stomach. So we would always go to a cafe. I had like a waistcoat and a little tie thing, like just like this little kind of thingy tie. It wasn't what they called, like a shoelace tie, it was. I remember going and sitting down in the cafe, and then the guy whose job it was came in, and we were sitting chatting, and like he was just, I remember him just showing me like all of the stuff like I do, and so he wanted to check my memory was good, yeah. So he would like ask me, "Fight, what's the date of birth?" Like instantly, I give him the date of birth. Like, "What's the name?" Here's the name. Like that. Like, you know, "How long have you lived there?" Like, and I know that. Like, "How much did the company turn over last year?" Like, I know that. Like, how much? When did you put the last transaction in? I know that. Like, so he used to call them C10s, and you had to learn all of that stuff and memorize all of these things. We then pulled up, like he was always trying to make me laugh, because what he's trying to do is he's trying to make me not nervous, you know, but he, you know, even though I'm not really going to get nervous because I'm focused on what the job is, because you can't, what you don't want to do is go into somewhere like that when you're going to do it and go, because that's like, they're just going to be on you in seconds. And then, yeah, sit down. It's a bit of, it was kind of like a chair like this, but a bit smoother over here, and sat down, and I had to wait for them to come over here. The counter's kind of here, like this, and the office door's over here. So I've been to the counter, said that I want to make a large withdrawal. It's actually all been done on the phone. I'm actually here now because we phoned it through to all pre-order the money, yeah? So we pre-ordered it, going to the bank, sitting down waiting. So it's all gone through. I've told them that I'm here waiting, and then like every time that door goes, you're like, "Is this it?" And then they're behind the counter on the phone, and you're thinking, are they talking to the police? Are they trying to find out what's going on? Because you just don't know. Like, none of that's really happening. They're out there just making sure. They probably want me to feel a bit nervous just in case. You know, I'm quite a young guy coming in to pull out a rather large amount of money over the counter, something that they've probably not ever done before at that time. A bit like, I don't know if people have seen the Catch Me If You Can movie, where he's the, you know, you see Leonardo DiCaprio kind of walk down, he's looking at these bank tellers a bit. That's kind of a real thing, you know, like, because what I would do is I'm looking for, who do I think, like, I've got these eyes, do I think I could just flirt a little bit with that person behind the counter? Could I give like a little bit of that? You know, just sitting there waiting, like I said, that door going open and shut, and then there's a woman and a man come through, and as they come through, they give me this bag and said, "Would you like to go in the back room and count it, sir?" I was like, "No, I want to go." Like, I've been waiting here for 3 hours. I was acting furious, like, but inside I was like, yes. And then, yeah, I just walked out, and then he just literally just picked me up and got in the back. It was like, whoa! I haven't seen that guy since then. that was kind of it. Like, I suppose that he done whatever he done, and I ended up just moving up and going and doing different types of things. But yeah, I mean, at that moment at the time, it was huge. It was like a massive thing. You feel all of the whole lot of it. I actually went to prison for possession of an imitation firearm with intent to harm. Drunk in a nightclub, I was trying to help someone, picked up a bottle, got attacked by the doorman on the door, and that was just kind of like it was like that volcano moment within me. At that point, up until, I think I was 22 when that happened, I was very uptight. I've got a lot of anger in me because of what's happened to me as a child. I was sexually abused. I was bullied. I've got all the stuff that's going on in my childhood that makes me who I am. That by the time that happens, I'm ready to pop. And once they attack me and throw me out, and then I got slapped. I had a fake gun in the car that I thought was real, and I went back and just wanted to, my ego was just obviously out of control, and I just pulled the gun out. I started firing, and before you know it, the police were on me, arrested me at the scene, and that was like a realization moment, like that my life is going to be like this if I continue to do this. What's next? Where am I going with this? And I guess that whole moment going to jail from it just took violence out of me, really. Because I realised, at that point, that I don't really want to go down that route because I'm going to be seen. Up until we've always been undercover and not outward in that way. I come out of that sentence and then I get into total stealing identities. I didn't even realise what was victims in this stuff, really. I'm thinking that the banks were going to all pay this stuff back and no one's really going to be a victim of this. It's a nothing crime is what I was thinking at the time, but it's not like that. And I now know differently to what I knew then. And so I just went on I suppose you would call it a rampage of fraud for quite a long time, committing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of identity thefts. When we was arrested, eventually, there was like 100 driving licenses in the cars that we were using. There was there's all different types of paraphernalia, fake driving licenses that we'd made, fake debit and credit cards, fake utility bills, all this stuff. After we'd been arrested, the police officer comes to see me in the cell and she says, so I didn't realise that they have to go away and have to get all these reports of the victims, to say, was this you? Was you this person? And then the person has to go, no. So there was someone that we'd stolen a dead person's identity. The police officer come down and had a right go at us about it and was really telling us off. And I didn't realise that until I was kind of like, what, the person, the daughter was upstairs crying her eyes out because we'd stolen her dad's identity, and that kind of made me go, whoa, what is this? I've not even thought about the victims in this, and that's the first realisation that I'd get that, up until that point, I've looked at all these driving licences, they've got my picture on me, or they've got my mate's picture on them. They're not our pictures, they're not their pictures, they're our pictures on them. So I'm just seeing them on a computer screen, putting the names in and adding it in, and that's just how it was. I wasn't thinking that there is victims to this. Once I'd gone through that bit, I then jumped bail. My wife was pregnant at the time with my daughter. I didn't want to miss the bonding period with my daughter. I decided that I was going to jump bail and go on the run. And I did, and that whole process of being on the run, as a human, it changes you. If you're driving and police come behind you, now at any moment I can be taken away from my family, who didn't know anything. I was on the run for 6 years. I stayed on the run, and my wife and the kids didn't know anything about it. People always say to me, she must have known something. She must have known a little bit. I was a fraudster. I was good at what I do. If I can convince my wife all the time, I was a good fraudster. She didn't know anything because I didn't want her to know anything, and by knowing something, she might have been at risk. eventually I was caught. I get caught in a petrol garage in Essex. I go to see a friend. The police are suspicious of me instantly as I walk into the petrol garage, and I come out again. I've got a fake name that I'm using, that I've used multiple times. I've been stopped previously before I actually get stopped and arrested, and they say there's 2 warrants out for this name, of which I was really surprised at, because like I said, I've already given this name previously to police. They arrested me at the scene. They remand me in custody, and then I get a prison sentence at the end of it. So that was for conspiracy to defraud. It's during that prison sentence, after my wife finding out and eventually coming to talk to me, it took her 3 months for her to come and see me. She comes and visits me on the visit. As she walks in the visiting hall, she's got my son, Zach, she's holding his hand. And as she walks in, I can see that he's crying, the other 2 are upset as well, but he's just crying. She's got 3 of them with her. I'm like, what's up with him? And she goes, what do you think what's up with him? You're in prison. Again, what do you think's up with him? Of course he's going to be upset. And it's at that moment that I realised, whoa, I'm now pushing my trauma onto my own children. And that's going to be a circle again that's just going to continue this crazy circle of crime. If it's only me that can change this moment right now. So I kind of, at that moment, that's it, crime's over. I go back to the wing, and I had a friend, Dennis, that I was talking to at the time, and I said, look, I want to get into fraud prevention. Everyone kind of laughed at me a little bit when I said it, but to me it was like a natural migration. I wanted to make the kids proud, and did I have an opportunity to be able to do that? So I served out the rest of the prison sentence, came out. I got a job, just working in a supermarket. I actually felt that this was the first time I was going to use all of what was happening to me to actually make a difference. I was going to really try. And so, I did. And I started building a presentation in the background about fraud and about how hacking was happening and what hacking looked like, because it was quite new then. It was a very new thing. It was a journey to come out of jail and want to change your life around and go against the grain, go against all the, the criminal life that I've grown up in. I've had death threats, get them continuously. Some people, I guess I'm like Marmite, you either like me or you hate me. Older people getting robbed and scammed out of their money is disgusting. I don't like it. I want to try and help back against that sort of stuff. I've been part of it in the beginning. I don't want to ever see stuff like that happening. It's horrible. So that drives me every day, making the younger generations understand the risks that they face, by getting involved in crime, by just doing a crime once, what that can lead to. Getting bullied creates, a low self-esteem. And that low self-esteem leads on to me committing crime. It's just evolution within a person. As a child, I would go and see psychologists because they knew that something was not right. But when that happens, as a kid, I don't want to tell the psychologist because I'm quite switched on even then. I don't want to go into a children's home. I don't want to go into care. What if I tell them that when I'm staying with my mum, this guy's beating the crap out of her? What do you think's going to happen? And when you're aware of that, you're hiding it all. You're not actually being honest with those people because why would I want that, And so if I could say to my old self, I'd say listen sometimes to what is being said instead of trying to hide what's actually going on. I didn't want to talk about things, Who wants to talk about being sexually abused? It's not a nice thing to talk about until you get strong enough to be able to talk about it. And that takes toughness, time, lots of horrible things having to come out of you to understand who you are, and then in order to give that to others to help. Because, it's not a nice thing to talk about, or being bullied is not a nice thing to talk about. People don't want to be, they're scared. That's who made me who I was. And all of these things are what make the criminal society that we have today. You know, in order to make it better, we've got to understand much more what creates criminals, you know, what actually makes a criminal, what actually is it that's going on there, because it's not what most people think it is, of just greed and not caring about things. There's lots of things emotionally that go on within that, and unless we start looking at that and talking to the younger generations and understanding how it is for them, you know, actually understanding how they feel in their environment. You know, there's not nothing I'm going to say to the kids that are misbehaving today that's going to make them stop like that. It's just not going to happen. Society has to get better at understanding all of the problems that there are in order to truly combat them. There's never been any glamour to anything I've ever done in any of that stuff, yeah? It was all just to cover up my selfish ego and to just, you know, just try and be someone different, when all I ever really had to be was me.